to the Sports Mom Playbook.
Welcome to the Sports Mom Playbook, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes with real moms and industry experts for all things sports to help you start or make more use of your time on and off the field.
Get ready for this binge-worthy podcast with some special guest appearances. Laugh along and join us in what we love doing, celebrating the true MVPs of the game, moms.
Let's do this.
Hi, friends, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Sports Mom Playbook podcast. I am super excited. We have a guest here that I have a little girl crush on. We met Margo about a little over a year ago in Texas. Yeah. We had done a mom event like for all sports, and Margo popped on this stage in a hot pink Barbie suit and not only killed it aesthetically, but showed up in a big way talking about some really important things that we're going to get into today. I don't want to spoil everything.
Yeah.
But about colleges and what it is to be a D1 athlete and what that really looks like for parents, especially moms that are out there navigating this. And we fell in love. And so when we started the podcast, we were like, we need to have Margo on here because
she's going to be able to
you're going to fall in love with her just like we fell in love with her. And we are so excited to have her on. So Margo,
welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah. So share.
It's been too long.
It's been way too long.
It's been way too long. And we've been following you, and we were just floored with everything that you had to say. And we felt like we have a good platform and community. This is a nationwide podcast, and we wanted you to share not only your background, but
a little bit about your expertise and how you can drop some nuggets of knowledge throughout for our audience.
Yeah, totally. So just a little background on me. Right now, my position is I coach high school ball and I coach travel ball, select, club, whatever you want to call it. My goal was to basically put content out online that people are having a hard time finding or finding quality content. And that's actually how I got the opportunity to speak at that event, was just kind of putting out a lot of stuff that a lot of people do need to hear. And through like researching and talking to other people and talking to recruiters and how they help other people, we've been able to navigate kind of some information that people need to hear before they even start the process. So, there is so much to know, and it can be like super overwhelming, but the idea is that everybody's, journey through the recruiting process is individualized. There's no cookie cutter situation for anyone. So I hope through the podcast that we're able to give you a little bit of insight, a little bit of navigation through these like really hard up and down waters that you're about to face going through the recruiting process.
Yeah.
So that's what I play Division I softball. I've coached for over 15 years. I'm able to kind of speak about the way I went through it and the way that it's changed. And I think that does help. But overall, the whole process is evolving every single year with technology, new rules, NCAA, NIL. That's a big one.
NIL
that is definitely creeping to the surface.
Yes.
So.
Oh my goodness.
And all of that, like you said, is forever changing.
Forever.
And I love that you stay up to date. And that is one of the reasons why we wanted even to create a platform, because like you said, there's so much information out there and it can really get overwhelming. And you're like, okay, well, what's actually true? What's current? And how do we keep up with all of these needs? And one of the things I want to just bring back when you had done your presentation is you had brought up like a map of how to talk to your kids and get away from the stamina of, well, if you're not D1, where do you head with your college career? And I think that is important, because I think there is room for everyone in some form of a capacity. And you had brought up a chart where like, okay, well, if you're D1, but your scholarship is this, and just talking about how you want to be as a parent as well. Like, do you want to be drivable to see your kids' games? Do you want to be on a 3-hour flight, and what that looks like?
Yeah, totally. So in softball, baseball, a ton of other programs, there's thousands of schools you can go to. And obviously you're going to have your niche of like what you're wanting out of that university. And on the flip side, there's so much things that you have to provide for that university to offer you a scholarship or a placement on their team. So the first question I always ask people is like, where do you even want to be? Like, so for instance, if like I knew for sure I wasn't going to be more than like a 4-hour car ride away, I knew that kind of narrowed my niche down into one, Texas or maybe Louisiana, maybe, right?
Right.
And then I knew for sure that I liked the weather where I was. I liked the people, all that kind of stuff. So those type of things when people are looking, like a lot of kids at 16 are like, I'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if I don't have to my mom. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're going to care.
Yeah.
You are going to care.
Yeah.
So I think making that like, okay, if you don't care, let's talk about it. Like you can only come home one time a semester because that's all we can afford because that plane ride is $1,600. Peak times to come home, Thanksgiving, Christmas, flights go up.
Right.
You want to drive 15 hours? No, you're not.
Yeah.
You know? And then on the opposite side of that is like, you're going to want that support from your parents or whoever that, you know, supports you in your season. And like, can they come when you're that far away? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you are that percentage that doesn't care. But at the end of the day, especially girls, they want to talk to their mama.
They do.
So I think that will kind of help people like niche down. Now, please hear this. When you get into a list of things of like who, what, where, when, why, sometimes you have to get rid of those little things if those colleges do not want you or you don't fit into the mold that they have, correct? So like, let's just say I only want to be in Houston, okay? There's no Division II schools in Houston. So I have to go Division I or Division III or NAIA, okay? Well, I'm not Division III or Division I level play, okay? So then that drops me down to junior college, NAIA, Division III. What are my options? And do those colleges have spots for my position, right? If they don't, then I'll have to broaden my where niche to maybe just surrounding areas or Texas, you know, Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, or whatever the case may be. Same thing in all the other states. But when you are able to look at where you don't want to go, it takes a lot of like, oh my God, there's 1,600 schools to look at. Like, how do I look at them all? You don't look at them all. So that's one thing that I would look at is like the actual location of where you're going or where you want to go.
Right.
So when does that whole process start for recruiting? Like, you know, my daughter's 8 and my husband's like, you're going to college. We're going to get you a scholarship. So what does that look like? Because I feel like as a parent that doesn't know what that looks like, it could be overwhelming. Like where is that age that starts and what do the kids need to do to prepare themselves depending on the age groups as starting as young as 8 years old through, you know, your 18U teams? Like what does that look like? How do you prepare that as a parent and also as a child with social media, mental health, like from that perspective, you know?
I think 8s, 10s, 12s, and 14s, you have to make sure they're still in love with the game when they get there. So meaning it's not a job. They shouldn't have to clock in, clock out. You shouldn't be holding this burden over your kids saying like, I'm investing all this money into it. You're not trying. It's like, well, then I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know? I would say in those age groups, they're still such little kids. You know, I mean, 8s, 10s, 12s. Come on. They're 11 years old and you're putting all this pressure on them. They're going to burn out.
Yeah.
You know? There is a drop between 12s and 14s and 16s because once you get to high school, you, again, using the word niche down into a sport that you think that you can potentially play long term, right? So in middle school, everyone's playing softball, volleyball, you know, basketball. They're doing all the seasonal sports, right?
Right.
I would say second year 14s, usually you're a freshman. That's when you start kind of honing in on your craft and making sure you have a viable product to present to college coaches. Okay. So saying that, let's just say you're a freshman in high school, you niche down, you start focusing, especially if you're a specialty position, meaning pitcher, catcher, shortstop. Okay. Then out of that, you know, if you're just working on your hitting, you want to make sure that you're ready to go when you go see these people. A lot of people are like, we got to go to camps. Well, guess what? You're going to a camp and you're not physically ready. They're going to be like, nah, you're good. Like, thank you so much for paying the camp fee, but we're not going to recruit you.
Right.
The issue too is a lot of people want to put out a product so fast because it feels good. It feels like we're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But that product is not good enough. So college coaches mark you off the list before you're even ready to be marked off the list. When you're like, well, I'm only an 8th grader. I'm only a freshman. It's like, yeah, but I can't see you making that, deep or that swift of a
Improvement.
difference in your play in 2 years. Yeah. So you hit it hard when you're sophomore, junior, and then of course senior. There's also this terrible stigma that if you don't get signed September 1st of your junior year, you're not going to college for your sport, which is untrue for softball, baseball. A lot of people get recruited up until their summer going into college. Is it Division I? No. But it can be a Division II, Division III, and AIO junior college. So I would say make sure that you're obviously fundamentals, IQ, softball, baseball, whatever sport you have the IQ for it up until 14s. Then you start really honing in freshman, sophomore year, building up a great product, putting it out there, starting emailing, and then junior, senior year, you're like, boom, you're ready.
Right. And you're presenting yourself as a finished, complete, whole product, not only on your skill set, but academically you need to be there.
Well, yeah. So that's a huge thing, right? A lot of people, this is a very 1980s idea. Like, oh, I'm dumb, but I play sports and I'm going to get a scholarship. Guess what? There are too many people playing now, right? So even if you are a rock star athlete, they still have to give you some academic money to get a full ride because there's just too many people playing. So the new rule, I don't know if you've known this or heard about this, but basically NCAA bumped it up that you can have 25 full ride scholarships, okay? Here's the issue is that not everybody is fully funded for 25 full ride scholarships, all right? Even University of Kansas, University of, UT that we heard or whatever, they are not offering just like hand over fist all this money. Where is the money going to come from, right?
Right.
So if you're fully funded, you could offer 25, but the average on a baseball team is about 12.
Wow.
And it's going to be about 12 because people have not built up that stack of money to meet up with the 25 full rides. So what they do is they say, oh, wow, you're a great shortstop. I like that. What's your grades like? Oh, you have a 36 ACT. Oh my God, that's awesome. Let me get you this academic scholarship. Then we meet you in the middle, 75%. And then there's your scholarship overall.
Right.
And that's how they work it now because there's a lot of academic scholarships, but there's not a lot of athletic ones. So they have to like kind of mix and match and do all those things to make it work.
That's interesting. I didn't know that there was that increase of just everything in general. From a parent perspective, would you say like from the mental health of like the child, like how do you prepare an adult when they're navigating through those conversations like no one's called me on September 1st? Like how do you handle that? Do you wait patiently? I remember you did something on your social media and it was like a skit that you were talking about, people were over, they were saying like, oh, all these people were actually calling me when in reality, it truly wasn't that. Yeah. So is it like a smoke and mirror thing? Like, what is it like? Like as a parent, how do you handle that conversation with your child and navigate and support them through those decisions?
I think it's important to set up expectation versus reality. The expectation is that it might not happen, and if it does, great, what is our plan? And if it doesn't, okay, what is our plan? Because at the end of the day, just because you get a call September 1st doesn't mean it's the people that you wanted to get the call from. It doesn't mean that they have money. It doesn't mean that they want you to play that certain position. There's so many variables. So it's not like it's a shoo-in. It's not like, oh, wow, there you go. It's that easy, And if it is that easy for someone, it's the exception. It's not the rule. I would say setting up expectations with your child and understanding what that means to them. This is not who they are. It doesn't define their personality. It's what they do. And that's like, I cannot preach that enough. It's like baseball is not who you are. It's what you do. And that will take off a ton of burden, I think, with a lot of kids. Also, it's a huge, I would say it's about the parents. They're making it about what they can post, what is going to make them look superior to the next person on Facebook or Instagram, or my daughter or my son got this.
Like
this,
bragging
this.
rights kind of
the
thing.
The college coaches do not want you doing that. One, you're not a part of the equation. You shouldn't be, at least. As a parent, you shouldn't be a part of the equation. Now, there are a lot of parents overly involved. Parents are moving to college towns
I'm dying
to be
inside
with their kids.
Guilty.
Just say it louder. Say it louder.
Yeah.
Preach it,
I'm
girl.
like, you're telling me that you're going to get your kid. Let's just say your kid's going to go to Dallas, okay? People are selling their houses and moving to the college town that their kids are going to so they can be a part of the college experience. How selfish.
Wow.
The college experience is for your daughter or your son to go experience, not with you there. You can visit, but you need to let them go be who they are.
Right.
Make sure all the fruits of your labor that you did for the last 18 years are going to pay off, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's when you let go and let them become these people that you want them to be. So I would say expectation versus reality. And if you do not have the right expectations, you will be disappointed more than you'll ever be satisfied in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, because even the best people, it's like, man, there's so much competition. So I think it's smart to get someone that has a non-biased opinion about your daughter and hire them. I think that's the best way to do it because then it takes you out of the equation. You're just a support staff. Just like when you hire a coach to coach your team, you know. And I actually do have a contact for everyone to reach out to if they do have questions. She does it nationwide. She's a little bit too honest, I'll tell you that. Sometimes you're like, hey, can we get a little sugar on that? But overall, she's so good at her job because she's so like straightforward. Like, hey, this is what you got. That's it. You know, and so that's why I like referring her to people that need help, especially if they're like, oh my God, I'm lost. Like I have zero interest. I'm a junior. I'm going into like the summer of going into my senior year and I have I don't know what to do. She'll get on the horn. She'll figure out, she'll see you and she can be like, hey, look, I'm going to plug and play. I would say that it also will help parents' expectations through the whole journey. But a lot of it too is it's the work you're doing outside of playing the sport. So you have to send emails, you have to do research, you have to figure out like what you're missing in your little package that's going to make you better. You have to make your grades, you know, all these things that affect the whole bigger picture, you know. I talked to a couple of college recruits and they said that they are dealing with parents more than they ever have before and they hate it.
Wow.
But you're doing a disservice to your child, though, when you as the parent are marketing them and sending those emails.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, little Timmy did so good at his game. He is the best little shortstop ever.
I mean, if anybody got that email, I would have been like, delete, right?
Right. That's like
they're not gonna believe you.
It's the same equation as if like you're applying for your kid for a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the same. It's the same. And that's also like you need to also rip off the Band-Aid and they need to understand how to maybe talk a little more professionally, how to write an email and present themselves in, you know, an appropriate
professional setting too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say
I mean, you can get on ChatGPT and write a professional email.
Listen, we love ChatGPT over here.
It's not that hard.
It's not hard. It's not hard. And nowadays the kids have it so easy with all the resources. Would you say that when a college coach is looking and scouting for athletes, they don't just focus on the skill set of the athlete, but they also look at the family dynamic and like that overall picture? I mean,
totally.
I've heard stories of players that were at a showcase. They were at a fast food restaurant arguing with her brother, and her head coach texted her and was like, stop arguing with her brother. She thought the coach was there at the actual restaurant, and he wasn't. It was a scout that had texted her head coach and said, tell her to stop arguing in public. Like, is that something that is a big deal when scouts are looking for like, let's say the perfect package, right?
And it goes back to like, there's just so much competition, right? So let's just say you're against another shortstop, okay? And you make your mom hold your bag, okay? You yell at your mom because she didn't get the right Gatorade. Who wants to coach a diva like that? They don't. They don't want it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a few exceptions where girls are just so freaking phenomenal. They're like, but that is very few and far between.
Right. You're talking about such a small percentage of those people that they would put up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the deal too. There was a story that a college athlete told me. She said, I was in the bathroom washing my hands. There was a college recruit in the bathroom. 2 girls were in the stall talking crap about their teammate. They come out. The college coach took her paper and goes, you're off my list.
Ooh.
Because you're not going to be loyal to your teammates. You're not going to be loyal to the girls there. And I think it goes down to the fact that, like, I told our team this, like, we have a bubble that we have to protect our team. And there are so many people trying to poke our bubble on the outside. Why would we want anyone poking a bubble on the inside, you know? And so to protect that little baby that they have to have good quality people, not only on the field academically, but are genuine people, because it is a job. You get there and it is a job. So I think it's super important that college coaches, so what they do basically, there's levels that you can look at. So first it's your talent level and the team that you're on. Usually that will kind of set a status for your athletic ability, okay? Also who you're playing against. So for instance, like if you're on a Joe Schmo team and you're playing all C-class tournaments and you're like, man, they're doing so good, like they're hitting home runs, against who? Right?
Right.
If you're going to national ranked teams and you're still kicking butt, like that says something about you. Because in college, you're going to compete against the best, right? If you're playing Division I, you're going to be going all around the nation, playing all different types of kids. And that's what they want to see, right? Then it comes down to, if they do like you and your academics are good, all the things, they'll go come see you and they'll see how you act. So are you being respectful? Are you being kind? Are you a good teammate? When things go wrong on the field, what are you doing? Are you pouting? Is it about you? Or do you like, hey, screw it, I got pulled because I sucked. Let's cheer on our teammates. Like, I got to do whatever I can do to make our team win. That's what they want to see. You know, so I would say if they come to see you, they already know that you're good. They're not going to waste their money to go see you play. If they don't like you already talent-wise, they're going to try to come see who you are as a personality. Are you selfless? Are you kind? Are you a servant heart? All that kind of stuff.
They're looking for a well-rounded person overall.
Well, I think a big thing is, are you coachable? And I think the teammate thing is a huge miss. A lot of times I feel like parents are just so honed in on the performance of their child and what that looks like to the outside world, that it's like, okay, well, like you said, in the dugout, like, yes, you did get pulled because of your performance. Are you cheering on your teammates? I think that's huge. I think a lot of parents miss that. And I think failure is an aspect of life, whether you're in sports or you're on your day-to-day. So I think it's important, like you said, those recruiters are looking, how do you do when you fail? Because obviously when you're winning, everything is great and everyone's happy.
Everything's gravy, yeah.
Like, it's great. Everybody gets an icy on the way home. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
But when you fail, what does that look like for you? Because some kids, they can't.
They shut down.
They're throwing stuff in the dugout and they shut down.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely not. I mean, here's the thing, too, is like the win-loss record depends if that coach gets paid and signed on for other years, right? So they need someone that's going to be sturdy enough to lean on when things are bad, when things are good, so they get paid. You know, because if you don't win, you get fired.
Yeah.
So they can't have someone so fragile, you know, to be on the mound or behind the plate or in a big tough at bat and break, you know? So you're basically putting your whole livelihood in an 18 to 22-year-old. That's crazy.
When you look at it like that.
It is
so true.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you. What do you think is the biggest thing that a recruiter is looking for today?
Out of like talent level or just like personality traits? Is that what you're saying?
Let's do both. Let's do talent level and then a personality trait.
Obviously offense is the name of the game. You're hitting, you're winning. I would say big, strong, powerful swings, you know. They would rather take a really good hitter and make them into a second baseman than a really great second baseman that can't make contact or they're weak contact, you know. Home runs, home runs, home runs. Unfortunately, that's what it's about. So if you're going to post a video of your kid, don't post a single. Post a home run or don't post it at all.
Don't post a single. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not impressive. It's sad, but it's just not impressive. I would say also speed is never in a slump. So if you're fast, that's awesome. That's God-given, you know?
Yeah.
That was something I wasn't really blessed with. So I had to go with power, you know? Yeah. But I think those are some things that you can really, like, if you have a strong arm, exit velo, speed down first and second, you know, just overall, they'll really kind of, you'll pass the eye test. That's kind of what it's called. Like the eye test, when they come see you, like, oh dang, like that girl looks kind of strong, that not everyone can be 6 foot. And ironically, I've done all these analysis of all these Division I teams, where they recruit from, size, all that kind of stuff. Not a lot of girls are getting recruited to play college ball that are over 6 foot. So it's not really about the size, because you could be big and slow and, not strong. But it's really about like how your swing looks and what kind of power you're bringing to the table. When it comes to personality, I think that they want strong leaders. And I also think they want selfless acts, selfless people that can think of, I don't know how many times I tell my girls, it's not about you. It's not about you. So, at the end of the day, I think we are all very self-centered. Phones, obviously, that, kind of helps us think about ourselves all the time. But at the end of the day, who can go, and if you have to play right field, like, you're okay with it, or you have to sit, are you okay with it? I think that would be the two things that I would really think about is, and also hard work. I think that's hard work and selflessness are the two things that I would love to see more out of players, because it's the amount of reps you do in high school to get recruited are times 2, times 5, times 10 to actually be competitive at the sport at the collegiate level. I went from hitting probably once a week with my private instructor in high school, playing, practicing. My dad and I pitched, twice a week outside of our lessons, going to pitching every day, hitting every day, extra on top of the 4-hour practice that we went to make an impact on my game, because that's what I know I needed to do, and I probably could have done more. But if you don't work hard, a lot of girls that I saw, there's two types. There's the girls that their goal was to just get recruited, check. When they get there, they're done. They don't care. And then the other half is like, they get there, they're like, hey, I want to win. And so it's funny that you look at it, you're like, why would anyone just want to sit there? It's like, because that's what they were told. Once you get recruited, it's all good,
Yeah.
It's like, nah, girl, that's like the first of all the 100,000 things you have to do.
Do they lose their scholarships if they don't, like, for example, if you have a player on your team that gets a scholarship or a spot on the roster and then they don't perform? Like, is that something, because like you said, it's the coach's livelihood, right? So I'm sure that's like intertwined with.
You can totally get cut. They're also changing potentially NCAA, where you basically could sign on for 6 months, like a semester. They're treating athletes now, and please, this hasn't been pushed through yet, but they're treating athletes now like employees because of the NIL. So now it's like you sign, and because of the portal, NIL, like you're an employee of that person. You're making money. Some people are making some serious cash, you know? So, but in the backtrack of like how it works when I was playing, and yes, totally, you can get cut, or you can say, hey, look, we don't need your services anymore. Or maybe you're a walk-on. You're like, hey, look, like, you're not adding any value to the team. Like, you got to go. So it does happen. And it's sad. It's super sad. But whatever you put into it, exactly what you get out of it. And the game owes you nothing. So
that's a good perspective.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
That is. But I think it's smart to start learning that now at a young age and understanding that that's what's expected and what's the reality of it versus getting hit, at the age of 18, 17, however old they are, to get recruited.
Now, hear this. Like, this is something that I think that we are going to have a hard time with this generation coming up is in club ball now, you don't play, you move. Now, college, you don't play, you go in the transfer portal. The issue with it is that in club ball, you can really find another team to take you. But in the portal, I don't know what the statistic now, but it's a couple of months ago, it was like 38% of people are coming out of the portal. That's only the other 68 are either quitting or in the portal still.
Wow.
So it's not a guarantee that you get picked up out of the portal. And that's scary. It's scary for a lot of athletes.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, but does it have to deal with the mentality that they're always just told like, oh, you're so great, you're so great, you're so great. And then when they get into the real world and they start seeing like, man, there's people that are better than me. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially when the parents are just like blowing their head up more and more.
I mean, you always want to be your kid's number one fan, but the reality of it is like you have to be careful with that because you just don't know how that could impact them in the future.
I think also, like, if you look at stats, and I mean, mind you, when you're looking at stats, you have to see who you're playing against. So, like, when you're getting recruited, stats really don't matter. But if you're looking at like, hey, like you're on the top team and you're still hitting 200, like we're not there yet, you know? And being that like reality check for your kid is so important. My dad was so good at that, but not mean. He wasn't mean about it. He just was like, hey, like we gotta get to work, you know? Like I told a story on one of my TikToks about how I was a freshman. I was not better than the juniors that had already had 2 years on varsity and were 2 years older than me, 14 to 16. That's a huge jump, you know, for maturity, growth for your body. So my dad said, hey, like, you're not going to pitch. Like, I know you're not. So let's keep pitching and then let's find a position that they need on the field. And then when it's your turn, you'll be so ready to go, you know? And I was like, okay, I mean, and you trust your parents.
Yeah.
And I think if you're honest with your kid in a very like approachable and like constructive way, they'll take that and they'll be like, okay, cool. My dad or my mom are only trying to help me, you know? And some kids are like, well, I don't want that. It's like, well, you don't get to choose because guess what? You're not as good.
Yeah.
So
hit them with the truth.
yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it worked out. It was great. My dad and I obviously like worked hard at what we were doing. And in junior year, guess what? Got recruited, went to state, like all the things fell into place. But if my dad would have just said, oh, let's move, like you'll go to a different high school and pitch, like you deserve to pitch because we've been working so hard at this, you know, it wouldn't have been as meaningful when I did get the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
Yeah. I agree. That's a lot. I mean, it's interesting to see the parents' perspective. Now, I asked you a question regarding social media. Like, how does that influence anything, if anything at all? Because you see people with Instagram at this age of 6U. Like, these ballers are like having
No.
Right.
Like I've seen people, their kid is 4 years old hitting off the tee.
And they have an Instagram
And
following.
they have like an Instagram following. And I'm like, are we
So
doing this? And that's just my opinion. I think it's very young to be putting your kid out there.
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit, my husband has one for my 8-year-old daughter, but he just loves, he's supporting her. He's like, we're her number one fans. So how do you handle that? Like starting at a young age obviously that's not something that will be used for college recruiting or anything, but is it necessary? How does it influence when you get older? How, in general, like how do the players need to act on social media? Because I feel like that's such a big part of our lives, and everything is recorded. Everything is now on video.
And it's
everything
forever.
is on the internet. Like you can't.
It's forever. Once it's out there, that's it. So if they're saying something mean about another team, I mean, it's like you could delete it, but one person
screen
to
record,
screenshot it and so
Snapchat,
it's over.
all the things.
Right.
Have you seen your girls that you're coaching like handle that?
Yeah. So I always ask, well, there's a couple of things to talk about when it comes to social media. If you are making an account for your kid and that's like where your family connects with you and like that's where all your friends and families can see how good she's doing, I think that's great. Like, you know, like that's what it's all about. It's social media. You're supposed to connect with people that are not around you all the time. That's the whole point, you know? When it comes to posting for like my 12U team, it's all for fun. It's nothing productive. You know what I mean? Like it's just for the girls to be on the website or be on the social media, be on the TikTok and feel like they're a part of a community, you know? When it comes to recruiting though, less is more. That's what I would say. The less is more because guess what? I see swings every day. College coaches see swings, see pitchers, see hitters all the time. So when you put out a product, like we talked about earlier, you put out a product and you're like, oh my God, this is such a good swing. And you're like,
is it really though?
Not. And then they can't unsee it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to like their personality, anything, I mean, let's be honest with you. We can make some really bad choices being a 15-year-old on social media, right? So meaning like maybe there's a trend going on that's so funny, but it says the F word or it says something. That's not a good look. Don't do that. You know, if you're partying and you have a cup, I wasn't drinking. How do we know that? Right? Like if you have like a red Solo cup, things I think that are just kind of playing with fire. What are you leaving up to the interpretation of the average person online? And are you making it better for your chances or worse? You know?
Yeah.
I would say less is more when you get to the college recruiting journey. You know, here's a big one that's going on right now.
She got fired up about this one.
Mind blown. Okay. Girls, high school girls are doing like recording tee work, like basically a workout on the tee, and they're not wearing a shirt. They're wearing a sports bra and shorts.
Oh, no.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Why are you doing that?
Is that
That's
a trend?
not a good look.
Is that like
That's
trend?
like a thing. People do. Well, like, I don't know if it's a trend, like, show off your swing or whatever in your sports bra, but, like, it's literally, I've seen it so many times where girls are just like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to wear a sports bra. And it's like a skimpy little sports bra.
Oh, my God.
You see their stomach, you see all the things, and they're hitting off a tee. Like, oh, I'm just this, like, stud athlete. No, all we can see is that you're not wearing a shirt.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
all you can
inappropriate.
focus on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah,
And
no. Immediately down.
No.
Report.
Yeah. I'm like embarrassed for the parent. I'm embarrassed for the child. Like, it shouldn't be on social media. College coaches are going to be like, no, we're good. Thank you so much.
That's
Thank
crazy.
you.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much that can influence the decision of these college coaches. Like, you have to be like very.
But it's also the parents too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like a
Like,
nutshell.
because what parents also post sometimes can be influential to the recruitment process now. Yeah.
She's like, yes.
It's embarrassing, honestly. I mean, here's the thing. So let's just say we're interested. Oh my gosh. Like, Brittany is such a great hitter. Like, let's Google her. Let's Google her parents.
Right.
There are a lot of people, especially at the division. I talked to a Division I coach, and they said that because of their high academic standards and they were a Christian school, they would not take a girl because of what was on her social media, even though she was a great softball player.
Wow.
They're just not going to do it. They can't. The school, the liability of something sexist, racist, just confrontational, anything that they have to go spend millions of dollars to cover up or to, basically dilute down the fire, like, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
There's just too many people out there. So, yeah, I would say they're going to look up your mom. They're going to look up your dad. They're going to look up all the things. I would do not post that stuff. And if you do, it should be close friends, private, whatever, wherever they can't find it. But they will. They'll find it. They will find it. Because guess what? There's a lot of girls that think, and probably boys, that think that their closest friends are their bestest friends ever. And then you make them mad. And guess what? They share that post. So you're not guaranteed. Anything that you post, you should always think, my grandma's going to see it. My grandpa's going to see it. And any college coach is going to see it, whether it's private or not.
Yeah.
Use those filters.
That should be your rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like I think that's very important. I think that sometimes they're just so quick to post and they don't realize the effects that it can have on them long term.
Yeah. Totally.
That's mind-boggling.
I mean, we've all posted stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You look back at your 2008 status and you're like, oh God.
Oh my
what
God.
was
That
I
was,
thinking?
I die. I'm like, how could I, like, never. It's so cringe. It's so bad.
I was
so
like,
bad.
what did I even mean by that?
Right? Like, what does
But
that
at the
mean?
end, yeah. It's so easy to find stuff. And it just makes me really, and the thing too about the younger kids is like, you just want to protect your kids as much as possible. So if you do have like a social media presence with like, let's just say a 4-year-old kid, like there's a lot of creepy kids out there, creepy people out there. Just keep it private. That's what I would do. I don't post my daughters at all. Because there's some weird people that think, especially because they come up to you, they think they know you. I mean, and I'm like a micro influencer compared to like the big billions of people that follow other people. But like, you got to set some boundaries. You got to make sure you're protecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice too.
What are some things that as a mom that you think other moms should take advice for protecting their kids when they're going through that college recruitment process and trying to figure out the right fit for their child?
Oh, I think that's such a good question because my dad was the sport part of it and my mom was the social side or the like everything else side, So even when I went on my official visit with my mom, she was like, what do you think? Do you think you could find friends here? Do you think you would have fun? Do you think that you would, love the school and like getting a degree from here? Like what, and my mom had a good pulse on who I was as an individual. So it wasn't like she was like, you're doing this because it's going to pay for your school.
Right.
She's like, if you don't want to do this, we're not going to do it. And my dad, of course, was the same way, but it was just different coming from my mama,
Yeah.
and she was always so supportive, and basically like she didn't know it. Like my dad knew all the technical stuff. My mom was just like, just my biggest cheerleader.
That's me.
But I think it's super important to always be checking in, and your daughter is going to have, or son are going to have really stressful weeks. They're going to have days where they're crying over an extra small shirt when you should, or an extra large shirt when you should have got a medium. There's a backstory to that, but basically people have bad days, right? And I think also checking in, like the emotional roller coaster of the social media, the journey of getting recruited, and like being like, hey, look, like this, again, going back to the thing, like this is something you do. This is not who you are. This isn't defined your worth of a human being. You have so many great talents outside of this sport. What do you want out of this experience? And I think those are questions you have to ask on a weekly basis. Like, hey, are you still in it? Like, you still want to? Yeah, I still want to. Okay, let's go. And making it more the athlete's choice rather than like, no, we have put $10,000 into this season. You're going to go, I would also think that moms have like a sixth sense about their children, and you can read their faces, and not that dads don't, but moms are just,
we just have that intuition.
Yeah. You look at them and you're like my mom would look at me and she'd be like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And then you just cry, and then you cry, and you're like, oh my God.
You're not going to believe what happened today.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. And then not making it any bigger than that moment.
Yeah.
I think that's like a huge thing. It's like, well, do you want to quit? Do you want to not play anymore? Because you're just so upset. It's like, dude, I'm just having a bad day, you know?
Right.
So I think my mom and my dad were a really great balance for me, because I definitely needed to like bum off ideas. My mom was like, I think you would really like the school because it's like smaller, and you really like community, and that's important to you. You like to come, you can come home anytime you want. Like we can, be here. And my mom and my dad were at every single home game. And that was really important to my mom. She's like, we want to be here to support you. And that's something we could, really swing if you went to school here. And we just sat, like I literally remember, it's like we sat by the bay, sat on a bench, and we just kind of like went through the pros and cons of it. And I think having that balance of parenting is so nice. I would also say that when you're talking to your mom, or we're talking to your athlete, there's just so many things outside of the actual sport that you need to consider. What do you want to do after this? Where are you going to be safe at this? Like a lot of people, there's a ton of schools that are not in safe neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And you go and you're like, mama instinct, you're not going here.
Yeah.
So going to see the campus is like super important. I think it's a huge part of like the actual experience, but mothers know best. So keep your mom involved with the process just as much as your dad. I know a lot of dads are a part of the process because of the actual physical sport, but it's important.
But like, I like how you said how it was like the package deal, like your mom and dad both played very different roles. And I think, like you said, moms, they look at their kids like, I know I can look at Grayson, my son, and be like, oh, something happened today. Like, I just know. But then he also says different things to dad, so I think just having that dynamic and making sure that no matter what throughout their athletic career, academic career, you're just having those conversations and like sitting down and having a meal, because you learn a lot about your kids.
Totally. Yeah. And not trying to pry, like, I don't think we're like, what is wrong with you? I just think it's like just random check-ins. Like, hey, how are we feeling about this? Like, how you feel about, there's a lot of big decisions happening. Like, how can I help? What would be easier for you? If I did this or, whatever. So, they don't have it figured out either. The parents are going along with the journey for the first time usually just as much as the kid is. By the time my sister got recruited to do track at Ohio State, my dad was like, dude, this is easy. All right, cool, yeah, plug and play. But it can be very stressful.
Yeah,
it could be very stressful. So I just want to thank you. I think that we covered a lot today. And you have so much to offer. And I wanted you just really quick before we end this to just talk about what you have coming up and where our followers can find you if they want to reach out.
Yeah. So we have, basically we just do camps all around United States. As many people that want us to come out there will do it in their skill camps. The other thing, so if you're interested in doing a skill camp, you can just message me or email me. The other thing is we're sitting down with Sherry Nadine, which is the sports collegiate athlete. Anyway, I'll give you her thing. Anyway, she does recruiting for all sports, whatever, but her niche really is softball, baseball, and she does such a great job. We are going to sit down and basically put out content that you can use for your experience, meaning like you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. We've already done it for you kind of thing. So we're going to sit down in December and we're going to do that kind of stuff. We'll also have a ton of new content coming out. We meet every Monday at 8:00 on TikTok, and we basically talk about anything softball related, whether it's recruiting, whether it's hitting, fielding, like travel ball, whatever. So if you don't have anything to do on Mondays at 8:00 Central Time, we're there. And then the last thing is we do like a ton of giveaways. So like I'm doing a raffle for this glove.
Love that.
So that'll be fun. And just keeping connected. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like you don't want to do this journey by yourself, and nobody does. So I think please hear this, that everything online is not true. Okay. So if you feel like you need help or whatever, there's plenty of resources out there. And I pride myself on just being a referral like engine. Like if you need something, I'm going to try to find it for you. So if y'all need anything, you let me know and I'll do my best to find someone that can help you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Margo. What are your social media handles that you can share as well?
Yeah, I am on Instagram and TikTok. Basically, Softball with Margo is both of them. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, TikTok will be around in 2025. That's what we're hoping. But yeah, where are y'all in Florida? Because I have a girlfriend that's like right outside of like Miami area.
We're Orlando, like Lake Nona area.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to be in Seaside March 4th through the 8th. Is that even remotely close to y'all?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That's more south, probably.
That's more south.
Dang it.
But where are you flying into though? Or are you driving?
Panama City. We're gonna play in a Panama City.
So that's more
tournament.
up north.
Oh, you're all the way.
Yeah.
You're like 5 hours from us.
Yeah.
We love you though.
I forget sometimes
Florida's
how
like
big
Texas.
Florida. I know.
It's huge.
Florida's so big. People are like, yeah, I want to go to Miami for the weekend. I'm like, that's 4 hours. I mean, we can go, but
Yeah, it's a drive.
So
yeah, you can go.
You can go. You can drive yourself. Well, I just want to thank you so much. You have been an incredible guest, and the amount of information that we've learned, not only ourselves, but our viewers. We're so excited to get this information out there. We love you. We support you.
We're so excited for you and all the, the success that you have coming your way.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for another episode. Thank you for having us, Margo, and for coming on. And
thanks for watching.
Bye.